Network Entertainment.
How do you handle rejection? Have you ever been
Of course.
like not received warmly or there's awkward silences?
You just have to be brave. I feel like the person you're going to speak to
Right.
is also afraid of speaking.
Oh, that's a good perspective.
So,
No matter who they are.
yeah, you're both afraid of what the other
Okay.
person's going to ask. So, be brave,
That's a good
be
mindset.
kind when you start. That's why I always, when I come into an interview, my aura is always, I'm a geek, I'm a fanboy. You are
Oh.
safe here.
Oh,
Try not to be afraid that they'll reject you. You don't know. Why go into something with an outcome already in your head?
right.
So, go with the flow.
Hi, this is Mirza Season. Welcome to You Can Do This, a podcast that'll help you achieve your dreams and goals one episode at a time. What are you waiting for? Let's go! Why is it so easy to talk to some people and so painfully awkward with others? Whether it's making small talk with strangers, joining a group conversation, or having to speak to intimidating VIPs, many of us worry about saying the wrong thing, or worse, getting tongue-tied and having nothing to say at all. Today's guest is living proof that you don't need to be the loudest or most polished in the room to have a great conversation with anyone. You can simply be curious, present, and a little brave. The once shy drummer of the hit band Sponge Cola and Star Wars and Power Rangers cosplayer is now one of the Philippines' most recognizable fan creators today. Interviewing Hollywood stars like Pedro Pascal, Evangeline Lilly, Jennifer Lopez, sino pa?
Chris Evans.
Evans, Harrison Ford.
Ay, hindi pa. I wish.
Akala ko you did.
No.
Wala.
Yeah.
Okay. Guni-guni ko lang na nakita
Baka,
mo siya.
baka manifesting.
Right, manifesting. And just about everyone who's ever played a superhero or a character in the Star Wars franchise. He has around 2 million total followers all over social media as Chris Cantada Force and has a newish podcast called Once and Always a Fanboy, which debuted at number 7 on Spotify just a few months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago, yeah.
Please
yeah.
welcome Chris Cantada.
Hello.
Force.
Yes. Hey, hi, Mirza.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm
Oh
very
my gosh.
nervous.
How can you be nervous?
Because I haven't been interviewed in a while, or I'm more comfortable asking the questions.
Asu. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm very, very happy, thankfully, in my current life.
Right. I just saw your post with Rachel Brosnahan
Oh,
and
yeah.
David Cornsweet. Is that how you pronounce
Yes.
it? Superman and Lois Lane to you.
Yes.
Wow.
That was a great
Wow.
opportunity, and it's always nice to be included in things like that, and I don't take it for granted at all. So thank you to Warner Brothers for
I
inviting
think
me
you're
for
more
that.
than just included. I think you are the go-to interviewer for any Hollywood movie series.
I don't know.
Admit it, own it. How did that happen? Tell us about your Rice and Rice. How did you become like a fixture on those lists?
Okay. Well, the YouTube channel started out 2014.
Okay.
So I've been doing that, 10,
Right,
almost
11
11 years. But the first half of that was purely
Cosplay.
geek, Power Rangers.
Right,
like Power
right.
Rangers, I know. But I was invited for the first time in 2016 for the Captain America Civil War junket in
Right.
Singapore. I had no idea what a junket was.
Okay.
That term junket I heard from a movie. I think America's Sweetheart. But is that with Julia Roberts.
Maybe.
But,
There's like
but
a negative connotation to junk. Diba? Parang we like to say media trip.
oh yeah. So junket, I kind of had an idea what it was, and when I got there and I got to experience interviewing
Right.
one on one, Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan. After that,
And kilala ka nila. They're like, we know you. Diba? What did that feel like?
it was a feeling that I wanted to keep on feeling. Kumbaga, I never knew I wanted that. But
Until you felt
after
it.
that experience, I wanted everything that I did from then on to always sort of have that as an outcome.
Wow. Goals.
So, but it wasn't like every movie that came out.
Right.
I mean, at that point, they were trying out non-traditional
Right.
journalists or
Right,
interviewers
right,
because
right.
at that time it was like Ricky Lo and ABS-CBN and
Right,
everyone else. So I think that was one of the few times they were trying. At that point, it wasn't even called a content creator or influencer.
Yeah,
I think they
yeah.
just I was calling myself a YouTuber.
Right, right. I think YouTuber was the term before.
So after that, I continued doing my Power Rangers skits, my fan films, and continue to do everything Power Rangers. And then once in a while, I get an opportunity here and there, like for Aquaman,
Right.
for Power Rangers the movie,
Right.
for others, for like Netflix stuff. And then I think during the pandemic, it sort of halted because syempre, what happened. And then, but I also got opportunities for, they were trying out these Zoom interviews.
right,
that,
right.
That was not a thing before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then from there, I thought, oh, I think in some weird way, the pandemic
Helped. Yeah.
because obviously one of the reasons why people aren't invited to these is because they have to pay for your flight and everything.
Yeah.
But now that
Free na.
now that the stuff are in Zoom, there's that path that I could see myself exploring more because there are more opportunities. But like if you do something like for 10 years, tuloy-tuloy, you kind of get
Burned out.
yeah, you kind of want to do something else. So that's what I decided for myself 2 years ago to kind of step away from the primarily Power Rangers stuff.
Okay. Right.
Like I felt like there's only at a certain age where people will want to see an old guy wearing spandex. So I felt like at this point I wanted to do something more that I can sort of ease my way growing old with.
So you hung up all the spandex or folded them away.
And I think the opportunities with doing this like more than the fan film started like I think late 2023 and then 2024 till now.
Right.
My main focus is to just see how far I can go pa rin.
Wow. And then now you've turned it into a podcast.
Yes. So
said-
it's I've always wanted to try the podcast route. People always tell me, why don't you just try podcast? And I was like so concentrated on fan films. Doing production with these skits can take up
It's
all of your time.
major production.
Yeah, because aside from shooting it, I'm the one editing everything as well.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to think about that. But when I decided to really pursue this, I thought, it's not gonna take a lot out of me to put what I already put on YouTube and just upload it in another platform.
Right.
So that's what I did with Spotify, with this podcast. And because of doing that, I realized I could also interview musical guests. And that never really came into my mind until actually doing this podcast, because I tried to get guests to fill out the weeks that weren't, movies or.
Right.
So who was I getting? My friends who are musicians,
Yeah.
like Yael Yuzon, and then I interviewed Eli Buendia, and I realized, you know what? I think the chemistry or the aura of the interview when I'm speaking to a musician,
It's different.
because I am a musician.
Yeah.
And there's more organic back and forth,
Right. Banter.
because I know what I'm asking.
Yeah.
And I know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of broaden pa my guest list, not
Right.
just with the opportunities of these junkets, but with actual musicians who, let's be honest, I'm old. So
You're not
I'm
even.
I'm trying for the music of now.
Okay.
It's more I'm rediscovering new musicians, new acts, new bands who are so great.
Right.
Unfortunately, who are so younger than me.
Unfortunately for whom?
Because like I have to kind of get into the headspace, but it's so
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
because music is music. It's timeless, and it's just a treat for me that I get to use that part of my brain, which
Right.
I haven't used ever since I did YouTube. Because when I did YouTube, I wasn't in a band or what. I wasn't
Yeah.
doing music, so it's fun talking about music again. So I think that making this podcast was that bonus for me.
Right. So you've interviewed the biggest names in the world, but take us back. Were you always this comfortable talking to people? Did you ever have social anxiety when you were young, growing up?
I remember in grade school, I was known as the torpe.
Oh,
I was, yeah. I mean, I was the funny. I was always trying to be the funny guy, but it's so weird when people who really know me, they know that I like to be surrounded by people I know.
okay. Comfort zone.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. Pre Sponge Cola, I would only just talk to
Yeah.
my circle.
Okay.
But because of the, what do you call this?
Exposure.
Yeah, the exposure and the training
Okay. Napilitan ka.
of being in a band like that. Luckily, it exploded during that time.
Right.
So I was exposed to having to interact with everyone.
Right.
And it gave me, for sure, it gave me confidence.
Right.
And it helped me like speak in Tagalog more.
Okay. Right.
Because growing up, I watched Power Rangers, Saved by the Bell. So it's all English stuff. So that was also one of the reasons why I was shy.
Oh.
Because, when you're a kid, you would be parang aasarin ka.
Pag hindi ka marunong magtagalog.
Yeah.
Right.
But because of Sponge Cola,
Right.
I had to speak. all the time.
But tell us about your torpe story when you successfully engineered meeting who would be the most important person in your life.
Yeah.
Jill, your
Yes.
wife, Jillian Gacheco Cantada, who was the EIC of Cosmo.ph.
Yes. So thankfully, I was already in Sponge Cola.
Ah, you were? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So,
hindi na masyadong
I was
torpe.
already,
College
I could,
to,
yeah,
no?
I could speak to women. No, but yeah, it was, it obviously, she gave me a hard time.
She did?
She's playing mind games with me.
Hi, Jill.
But yeah, it was thankfully the confidence was there,
Right.
and because I knew she was the one. I
Right
went for her right away.
So it wasn't such a struggle pala.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Okay. Speaking of struggle, so many people struggle with starting a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what's your go-to advice for breaking the ice, especially at events and the cons?
Because the one lucky thing that I feel everyone doesn't realize is when you're in an event, you're there for a specific something, whether
Right.
if it's for a movie, if it's for a Comic-Con, if it's for a toy, whatever. Oh, like at that point already, you already have something in common.
Okay.
So it's easy
May pag-uusapan
yeah,
na.
there's always gonna be something to talk about. But how to keep on, I guess, getting the conversation going. This is going back to Jill.
Right.
She also asked me like, it was a conversation like how I got her. Kumbaga.
Naks.
Because the conversations were, I guess, endless. And my mindset at that time, while speaking to her, I already have a mental flow chart.
Naks.
If this goes to this conversation,
May
we can
flow
go there. If it goes another way, and then so I think that's how my mind works when it comes also to meeting new people. I don't go for the exit strategy and just leave the conversation.
Right.
There are
As in, you
There's
can
a
see it
maze.
in your head.
yeah. I
It's
feel
mental,
like
it's not prepared.
no, because it's hard. How can you prepare it on the spot?
I don't know, for Jill, maybe you made a chart.
I think when you get comfortable with someone, it will come.
It will just flow.
It will just flow. But you need that flow chart
Right.
when it come. In my case, to start the conversation for me.
What's up, Kingdom fam? Yuki and Ingrid here from the Kingdom Podcast. Are you someone who has fully integrated K-pop into your life? Or keep up with the latest K-pop comebacks, news, and scandals?
Do you also dream about getting married to your bias and having their babies in the future? Well, you're in the right. What? I'm just being honest.
Look, you know what? Let's just get back to it. At the Kingdom Podcast, we dive into the latest comebacks, dissect the music videos, and do deep dives on controversies.
Not only do we make things informative, but we also keep it fun. It'll be just like listening to a group of friends who love K-pop as much as you.
You won't find another podcast that's as fun and unfiltered as ours.
So, if you're ready for some K-pop chaos, grab your nightsticks and tune in.
Check out the Kingdom Podcast.
Stream it on all your favorite podcast platforms. Stay awesome, Kingdom fam! I thought that was pretty good. What do you think?
Marrying your bias and having their babies? Really?
Yep.
Okay.
For example, can you walk us through an example of, like, let's say you're in an event and then you have to talk to someone and, like, what the hell are we going to talk about?
I mean, just an example was the Superman red carpet event.
Okay.
We talked, like, I was with people, some who I've known,
Right.
and some who I just met. Obviously, first, do you like Superman? Yes, no. Yes, why? No, why?
Okay.
And then, what about this Superman? Are you
Right.
excited for the movie to come out. What was about Superman before that you weren't really keen on and you're looking forward to this new iteration.
Okay.
And then after that, the director naman, James Gunn. James Gunn, he has DC stuff, he has Marvel stuff. There's so many
Right.
branches in my
Right.
mind that I
Right.
can go to.
Right.
So it very much helps that if you're in the event that you're in, you're passionate about the event also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm in a geek event, the passion is natural
Right.
for me.
So the geekery works out in your favor.
Kinda.
And I think this is also your strength when you're interviewing these stars. Grabbing level of geekery, the things that you know about them really catches them off guard.
Oh, with the interviews, I really prepare.
You really prepare.
My philosophy on this, wow,
Yeah.
trade secrets. Pwede ba to?
Masterclass.
First, I already think of what they're gonna answer. I'm sensitive to the fact I'm not one of those interviewers or journalists who wants to get the
The quotable
the
quote.
juicy stuff that might get them in trouble. So I ask something that I know they'll be comfortable in answering.
Right.
So how do I get to those questions? What I realized from the start is that you cannot invent new questions in a way that if their answer is, oh, I prepared for this role like this. Usually the basic is, how did you prepare for this? Right? But if I want to elicit that answer, I get that question.
You reverse engineer.
I try to find a different point of view.
Right.
So if it's the how do you prepare for this role, I ask, so in the weeks leading up to your first day on set, what were you feeling during those few days when you knew that tomorrow is day one? It's something like that. Like it's the same question
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to just word it differently.
Right.
And when people, I notice also when the actors say, "Oh, that's a good question," I feel like the question is not what they're liking. They're liking how I phrased it. So
And Pedro Pascal said this 3 times.
Oh,
That's a good question. That's a good question.
because it's
Maybe it's fresh. It's not the same old thing.
Yeah,
that they
you
hear.
have to freshen it up.
Right.
Even if the question is if you break it down to its basic form,
Right.
it's the most basic question. But I like doing lead-ins. Lead in and then the question.
You're setting the groundwork first before
Yeah.
the zinger.
Yeah.
What are your favorite questions that you ever asked and with whom?
With who? The first one was Chris Evans, obviously. This was my first time. I knew from that point I didn't want to ask the same questions. So I bring it to who I am also, who is a musician.
Right.
So kind of like asking musical related
yeah,
questions.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I asked Chris Evans. I still ask this question to this day, just kind of
Playlist.
I asked like, what is Captain America's workout playlist? Ask Captain America.
Right.
So and then I also ask, do I ask? You know, these questions, they're not. It's so hard to be original
Yeah.
because some of the great interviewers who I look up to also,
Such as.
Jake in the States. There's Kevin McCartney also. There is Josh Horowitz. These are the guys who are staples talaga. And even their questions, for them, it it overlaps with others as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
It's about the person asking. So I try to have a unique way of asking, just like what I said before, even if it's the same
Right.
type of question. It's hard, but you try to put yourself and your personality into that
Right.
question.
Right. So, how do you handle rejection? Have you ever been
Of course.
like not received warmly, or there's awkward silences, or you blanked out?
Rejection.
First of all,
I-
what's like the most painful kind of rejection?
I wouldn't I wouldn't call it a rejection. I would call it not being included.
Oh, right.
Because it wasn't like this at the start. You always have to start
Yeah.
somewhere.
Right.
And when I decided to do this like full on, some people I feel my persona was still at least the Power Ranger guy is a Power Ranger guy.
Okay.
So that's how I feel like I've never worked harder in my life than trying to get this podcast up.
Oh.
Because I knew even before I started the podcast, this is how I got Evangeline Lilly. And even when I got Evangeline Lilly, I didn't know it was going to be a podcast until that interview itself. Parang she even inspired me to do something.
Oh.
I was going through something at that time while interviewing Evangeline Lilly. And I knew that there is always an expiration date to something. I will not... What will happen to me if these companies decide to get someone else, someone newer, the typical, the thing. What am I going to do? I'm just going to stop. But this is something I really want to do. So I formulated like a plan to somehow keep on doing this even without because every interview I got to that point was always an opportunity from Netflix, from Disney.
Right. Invited.
Yeah. What will happen if that stops?
Right.
So that's when I started to reach out personally to publicists,
To your contacts.
publicists and DMs, cold DMs.
Right.
And I wanted to see if this would work. And Evangeline was my way
Your ultimate.
my way of knowing if this works. This will probably work.
How did you feel when she said yes?
Oh, so happy, like ecstatic. But again, I'll explain more later. But the Evangeline Lilly was the one that made me realize, I can do this. There's a possibility of doing this on my own. I can get my own guests. And that was December of last year. And then January and Feb, I was really getting my own guests, even with movies and TV shows from Netflix and like other streaming services. And I found out this is really something I'm passionate about. And I learned from doing that I realized how hardworking pala I can be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then thankfully, with that hard work that I was giving out into the universe, I guess, that's when the company started to see this guy is trying to get out of that
Right.
Power Ranger thing.
Reinvention.
So that's how I feel. I hope that's what's been happening, that I've been getting more opportunities
Right.
lately, because they see that it's not just Chris Cantada anymore. It's once and always a fanboy.
So for those who want to be like you or want to just be a good conversationalist when they're afraid to approach VIPs or important people, how have you managed, maybe in the early days when your questions were met with silence or masungit, di ba? Yan ang fears ng mga tao in striking up a conversation with people who intimidate them. How have you dealt with that?
Like in an interview setting.
Yeah. Or not. Di ba? Like, pag may red carpet and you're all like, di ba?
I feel like I
Nag-uunahan kayo.
thankfully naman, like in an interview setting, there wasn't like silence. Thankfully. You just have to be brave. I feel like the person you're going to speak to
Right.
is also afraid of speaking.
Oh, that's a good perspective.
So
No matter who they are.
yeah, you're both afraid of what the other
Okay.
person's gonna ask. So be brave.
That's a good
be
mindset.
kind when you start. That's why I always, when I come into an interview, my aura is always, I'm a geek, I'm a fanboy. You are
Oh.
safe here.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Maybe that's the strength.
That's what I put out.
Okay.
Like I'm not. So what did you do?
Yeah.
I'm not. You know, I always. Hi, my name is Chris. I'm
Right,
from Once and
right.
Always a Fanboy.
Right. Earnest
Yeah,
and sincere.
because that's who I am, naman.
Right.
Anyway,
Okay. So you have to be real. What's your advice for someone who feels weird or different or struggles to fit in? Coming from your
I think-
history of geekery.
I think being. What is the definition of weird? Right? It's very subjective, and everyone has their own weirdness. And I feel like you just own it. If you own your weirdness, you're not weird anymore in a way, right? That's your truth. So own it, and yeah, don't be afraid. I guess try not to be afraid that they'll reject you. You don't know. Why go into something with an outcome already in your head?
Right.
So go with the flow.
What's one thing you wish you knew sooner about connecting with people or talking to these celebrities?
Don't be too nervous
Oh.
because
And you're not anymore.
I mean, there's always
Right.
gonna be nerves for me. But once I ask my first question, it's gone. Because the flow is always
Right.
a very nice, organic.
Right.
There'll be one or two scenarios where it might not work out the way you planned, but most of the time, there's nothing to be afraid of because you both want the same thing
Right.
to celebrate the film or whatever you're talking about.
And they are probably afraid too. As you
I
said.
guess, yeah. Because, they don't know that I'm a geek. They might think that I will take their quote and just
Misquote
yeah.
them.
So that's their fear, I'm
Right.
sure.
Right.
But yeah, when I start out letting them know that I'm a safe space, guys.
So you put them at ease.
Yeah.
Do you have other tips to share for people who want to get better at talking to anyone?
So I said like flow chart.
Right.
Don't realize that they're probably also afraid.
Be yourself. Be
Yeah.
your weird self.
There is always going to be a common denominator for sure. Always.
Always.
Yeah. And if you both hate the same thing, that's another great way to enter.
What are some surefire common denominators?
Film.
Whether film,
Film.
right?
What you enjoyed growing up. Music. Yeah, those are the ones that are in my circle. Those are the things that, those are the topics that usually come up when I speak to someone new.
Right. And when you do get nervous, if you still get nervous, what's a mantra or a reminder that calms you down instantly?
It's your mantra actually. Yung try lang ng...
Join lang
Join lang ng join.
Oh, really?
Because if you're not, you're going to, there's nothing, for me, there is nothing worse than wasting your time.
Right.
You waste your time not doing something. You waste your time because you're afraid. You know, I learned many years ago when I had my heart surgery at 24
Oh.
that anything can happen anytime. So that's why I'm so passionate about doing the things that I want to do, is because when else? So join lang ng join. Yes nang lang yes. Because this is a quote I've heard so many times. You miss the shots you don't take. So why not even try and do something you want to do just because you're afraid that it's not the norm, it's not what society would think is appropriate for you. What's appropriate for you? You're the one living your own life. So that's my mantra.
Thank you, Chris. Where can people find your podcast, your YouTube channel,
the podcast
Instagram, TikTok?
is on Spotify. Once and Always a Fanboy. And everything else is Cantada Force, Chris Cantada Force, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah.
Anything coming up that you want to invite our listeners to?
There's always gonna be something. Just subscribe and follow to check. But yeah, I'm always happy to continue doing what I'm doing, and you should too.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yay.
Thank you for listening to You Can Do This. If you want to know more about me, visit Mirza.com. That's MYRZA.com. And follow me at Mirza Season on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate it 5 stars. Hit the follow button on your podcast streaming platforms and hit the notification bell to get alerted every time we release a new episode. Catch you at our next convo, and always remember, you can do this.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.